If I had to start a language from zero tomorrow, I would do quite some things differently. And I'm not saying this because my old method failed. By studying multiple foreign languages for years, my experience has changed quite a bit. And a little spoiler for this video, grammar would not be my top priority. The first thing I would do is define a concrete goal. Because with every new skill you want to learn, you want to set a specific goal. Without a specific goal, it's very hard to define your specific path. And I'm telling you, becoming fluent is not the right strategy. You should define your outcome first. So whether you want to travel, you just want to have conversations, maybe you want to make content in your target language, please define your goal before you start diving into the language. Once you know your goal, everything becomes easier. And I think my goal would be to speak 15 minutes comfortably instead of being 100% fluent. Point number 2 is that I would start speaking earlier than feels comfortable. The main idea here is that you start using the language earlier. I think we adults have this vision of reaching perfect fluency, but I think small speaking moments in the beginning are so valuable. Every time you challenge yourself to use your target language, your brain and also mouth get used to what speaking that language is actually about. So I would probably also start talking to myself if I don't have someone I can practice my target language with. But if you can find a language partner, I would definitely prioritize that because you're gonna make rapid progress. You want to speak as much as possible because speaking creates gaps. Why are those gaps so valuable? Because they show you what you should focus on. Confidence follows speaking. That's why speaking is so important. Point number 3 is that I would increase meaningful input. What do I mean by meaningful input? Meaningful input is information in your target language you can understand or is slightly above your current level. So instead of studying about the language a lot, I would focus on what you can understand already. And listening and reading play a huge role in this process. The key pillar of this method would be to focus on repeated, understandable content. And depending on your target language, there are so many videos out there, for example, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can also listen to podcasts on Spotify or listen beginner stories. Please remember that languages are built through exposure, not through endless studying. Point number 4 is that I wouldn't rely on motivation, but I would build a system of discipline. Why is it that we don't want to rely on motivation? Because on some days we don't feel motivated. And does it mean when we don't feel motivated, we should just skip our learning session? I don't think so. You want to build routines you can actually follow. Let's say you work full time, you don't have a lot of free time left, you got a lot of things to do. I'm sure you can still find 50 minutes of your day to spend on studying your target language. Or maybe while you're working, you can listen a 50-minute podcast in your target language. And let's say in the evening after dinner, you speak for 10 minutes. This would add up to 25 minutes of studying your target language. If you repeat this, you'll make nice progress. And remember, when it comes to language studying, consistency is more important than intensity. Point number 5 is that I would narrow my focus. I mean that you want to learn less initially in the beginning when you just started studying the language. So I see lots of people studying random vocabulary lists containing words that are not used that often. What you want to do instead is focus on frequency, so the words that are used pretty much every day. So for example, introductions, opinions, common verbs, colors, and so on and so forth. Remember that in the beginning, you just want to talk about what happens to you and around you, just basic things in your life. Just remember to learn deeply before learning broadly. And point number 6 is probably the most important one, but I would accept that I sound stupid sometimes. And I'm quickly gonna explain you how this idea changed everything for me. Because we're afraid of making mistakes and we all want to sound intelligent. But accepting imperfection when you just started studying a foreign language is so important. I can fully relate to this because last year in August 2025, I started to lock in on Russian. The first few months were very tough for me when it came to progress. I recognized quite some words, but I just couldn't put my sentences together. As soon as I had accepted being that beginner, things went uphill for me. Because we need to remember that languages are very complex systems. And I think we should also be nicer to ourselves because studying foreign languages and speaking them on a good level, let's say B2 or even C1, can take quite some years. So please embrace the moments of embarrassment. I've had so many embarrassing moments in Russian. I've had people correct me on the most simple things in Russian. But once you realize that communication matters more, there is less burden on your shoulders. I really like the following idea. Fluency starts where the ego ends. Embrace awkwardness and you'll make a lot of progress. Conclusions of this video. Adults often make language learning way harder than it's necessary. You don't need more discipline or intelligence, you just need a better approach. Now, I would like to know on your side, if you had to restart a language tomorrow, what would you do differently? Please tell me in the comments. I'm curious to know about your perspective on this. I also want to thank you for watching this video and hope to see you next time.